Now, we did an interview with Dr. Keel earlier this semester, and he brought this up, that there was, with the sustainability, the green fee vote, that a lot of people were not really, I guess, informed as they should have been on the vote because they were not clear about what it was funding. What exactly does the green fee vote go toward funding? Because there was someone who brought up that they thought it was supposed to put solar panels on the roofs of all the buildings on campus, and Dr. Keel corrected that rumor on air. So we were just wondering if there were specifics you could give us on that.
Well, I can tell you what the resolution that was passed by SGA in 2011, and presumably that is what students were voting on when they voted to support a green fee. Students, I don't think, ever saw a written document, but this is what was moved forward by SGA. And so in that green fee resolution, there were 4 different things that the green fee would support. And so with that $10 fee, a little bit over half of it would go to environmental projects. And those projects would include things like using solar panels, like allowing us to purchase composters so that we can recycle our food waste instead of just send it to the dump. It would allow us to do relamping projects, diversify plant life, retrofit our buildings to make them more environmentally friendly and energy efficient, and so forth. So those environmental projects allow us to think, or those funds for those environmental projects allow us to think long-term and make long-term decisions about things that would cost a fair bit of money up front, but that actually save us money in the long run and are more sustainable for our environment in the long run. So a little bit more than half would go to that. Part of it will go to environmental education, about a quarter of it. That would be for guest speakers. That would be for things like developing the curriculum, the sustainability curriculum. Part of the funds would go to marketing and promotion of sustainability on campus, and part of the funds would go to support personnel for the Center for Sustainability. And because this is a student fee, students would vote on how, similar to a technology fee, the students would vote on which environmental projects would be supported. So there would be proposals from all over campus, and students would ultimately make the decisions on those things. So this is what the resolution that was put forth by SGA and approved by SGA in 2011. That's what it states.
To clarify, I wasn't saying that Dr. Keel said that solar panels were a good or a bad idea. He said that they were not guaranteed as the first thing that would come off the green fee.
Oh, absolutely, right. But it's certainly something that is a sustainable
solution.
I'm
not saying that's probably a very, very good idea. He didn't guarantee that up front.
Right, okay.
How soon could we see the green fee, the projects that will be funded by the green fee, how soon could we see that implemented?
Well, the first step is that the Board of Regents have to approve the green fee. They've already approved the 2 other fees that were passed, but this fee has to go through the formal, longer process. So it'll be presented to the Board of Regents in December, and from what I understand, the decision will be made public in April. So the earliest that the green fee could be collected would be in the fall of 2013. So my thought is that it hasn't been formalized yet exactly how this will work, but presumably proposals will be brought in during that semester, and then a student board will make decisions about how those fees are spent for the environmental projects.
All right, we're going to shift gears just a little bit on this one. We're going to stay local in a sense. Now, Statesboro and the surrounding areas have a lot of agriculture. It's a big economic base, and it has a lot of policies directed toward it. Let's say you could change one thing about, let's say, agriculture, say policy or legislation, just to make life simpler for farmers and people who live based off agriculture. What would it be? Just something to simplify everything and make it better for us all around. And I realize that's a very vague question, but
yeah, and I'm no policy expert here. I think the thing that would make life easiest for the farmers is if they could depend on the weather. But of course, we can't do anything about that.
Get on that, NASA.
I think that in terms of our local farmers, it would simplify their lives dramatically if they were insured to a market right here locally. So if they could always depend on all of their products being sold to the local community, then they don't have to worry about the transportation costs to get it elsewhere. I think that supporting our local farmers, supporting our local economy in that way would be a tremendous help to the farmers.
Do you see climate change and human activity as a threat to future of plant life?
Absolutely. We're seeing the warmest years on record. We're seeing dramatic changes in weather patterns, in drought. Georgia has undergone a tremendous drought over the last 10 years. There are all kinds of changes that are impacting biodiversity in many ways. We see species moving further north. In fact, I was speaking with a colleague about a potential project for high school kids to do. And we were talking about plotting the shift of ranges for particular species. And he said that he's seeing some butterfly species moving further north right here in Georgia. I mean, it's happening right here. So it's clear that all the evidence shows that there's a dramatic change that's underway, and it's certainly having consequences for biodiversity. Mm-hmm.
Now, kind of staying with agriculture related to that for another second, do you think that climate change is going to have to change the way we farm in the coming decades and how we acquire, just food as a nation? Because we saw this summer heat waves wiped out massive amounts of crops just due to overheating them. They cooked basically while they were still growing, and that caused food prices to go up. Are we going to have to change how we farm in order to continue going into the future with the warming planet?
Well, I don't think things can stay how they are today because we're not able to keep up with the changes that are taking place. I think we have to be a lot more careful about water conservation and to plant crops that are appropriate for a particular region. You see in California, they're farming rice. It's dry in California, and rice is a crop that requires water, standing water. So using water in that way, I think, is problematic for agriculture. So we need to start growing things in the climate zones where they really belong. But yes, I think we're going to have significant issues in the future, and already are with agriculture as related to climate change.
How necessary do you think alternate fuels are for the coming decades?
Well, we are running out of fossil fuels, so we will not have a continuous supply of oil. We can see that we've had many issues in recent years with trying to get our oil. We have to go to places deep, deep under the ocean to be able to get that oil, which makes it more dangerous for potential spills. The Deepwater Horizon spill is, of course, the example here. So it's becoming harder and harder to get the oil that we have left. So we do need to come up with alternatives that are sustainable. The other thing, of course, about our fossil fuels is that when we burn them, we release carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, which then causes climate change. And if we continue to do that, then that just worsens our issues, our problems.
In your opinion, are biofuels going to be a viable alternative?
I think that biofuels hold a tremendous amount of promise. I think what we have to do, though, is to be very careful that the biofuel sources that we choose are not the ones that we're growing with lots of oil inputs. So, for example, if we're farming corn and then turning that corn into biofuel, we've just spent a tremendous amount of energy to grow that corn with oil. And then it's coming back to us as something that would be a biofuel. So it's not energy efficient to do it in that way. But what could be more promising is using waste materials as feedstocks for biofuels. And there's lots of research underway with potential sources of biofuels that are not as energy intensive to grow.
When you say using oil to grow corn, you mean in transportation costs, correct? Or in some form of energy being expended to grow corn.
Well, I'm talking about plowing the fields, maintaining the fields, using oil in that way.
Okay,
Right.
Just for those of you who keep a garden at home, don't.
Don't put oil in your garden.
Yeah, don't. Dumping unleaded is not going to help you. When as we're going forward into redesigning technology and society as a whole to be more eco-friendly, do you think the buildings on campus, like the new biology building that's going up, or the RAC that are certified quote unquote green buildings, do you think those serve as like a template for the future of eco-friendly construction? Or are we going to have to do even better than what we are currently calling a green building?
I think we are absolutely headed down the right path. I am thrilled that Georgia Southern has adopted a standard that all of our future buildings will either be LEED certified or up to LEED standards. This is a great first effort at making our buildings more energy and resource efficient. I think the standards are improving all the time. Some of the early LEED buildings were not as good as some of the LEED buildings that we're seeing now. They've actually even changed the standards somewhat so that they're improving those standards. So yes, I think going forward, this is a great starting place. But I think as technology teaches us more, we gain more from technology. We're going to find out how to make a better building, a more efficient and better building.